What's up, y'all? It's Lone Wolf. So today I got some downtime after my first job, so I'm gonna be doing transfer case fluid. I got some rear sway arm bushings and links in the mail, so I'm gonna be doing those today. So I'm just gonna kind of do a video. I didn't do a video on my first job today because it was quick, so let's get started here. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of set you guys there. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to need a 13mm short with a flex head, 3/8 or a 1/2 inch, however you want to do it. So we're going to remove these bottom bolts here and try and drain it out, okay? Quick one because I got another job coming up today, so I'm gonna run through this one as quickly as I possibly can. So we'll see. I might just set you guys right here, okay? You can kind of see. So one out, okay. Pile of bolts over there. So one thing I will mention about this is if you don't service this rear end, you will burn up your fluid in your front. And I realize I have 2 split boots, but I have a bad tie rod, so I have some suspension issues up front that I'm dealing with. But I noticed that that front case will burn up and burn fluid. I had an issue with it. I just did it. I didn't do it on film. I did it really quick. The fluid was burnt. I'm expecting it's probably pretty bad back here. It hasn't been done for a while. So as you can see, we have our links are kind of starting to split. These bushings are not the best, so we're switching out for mugs. Just got them in the mail right now. We're kind of just waiting on the mailman, but I've got this one here. These ones don't have any drain plugs, so they're pretty messy, but it's really not that bad of a job. You can reach this one with a wrench if you wanted to. We're going to be jacking this up too. I just wanted to get some bolts out. Now we got a little more room in here, okay? So once you jack it up, you can see there's space between the tank and the axle. So it gives you a lot more room. So we're gonna makes it way easier. So you can only get out about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts when it's not jacked up. And as you can see, I only jacked it up a bit. I didn't even take the tires off the ground, maybe the front a little bit, but I barely even took it off the ground. So we're gonna go with a case bolt up here underneath the sway bar. Okay, it's way easier. Let's see if we can set you like that. It's way easier to do this with the sway bar off, so I'm probably going to end up doing that very thing, or at least when you do it, you can detach it from there, and the other side where the bushings are. So I'm putting bushings in it anyway. These with flex heads a lot easier. You got that little bit of room, okay? I think that's important to use a flex head in here, not a regular ratchet. It's just way easier, so we can stick this kind of to the other side of the tank. But you can run it on the outside of the sway bar for this side. Break that loose, okay? Again, you have to jack this up in order to get the space. Okay. Another one right here. Windy one out today, so. Okay, do it that way. Leave that top one in just a little bit, okay? I would actually probably put it about right there. So, mind you, I parked under a bush, so I don't got to deal with the sun today. That was a smart decision. So, alright. You're going to come in between your case and your gasket here and split it. And sometimes you might need a hammer to hammer a screwdriver in there. So try and pry it first and see if it'll go. Probably not, so we're gonna have to hammer it in. See if we can find some sort of, oh, that's our case tag, keep that. That'll tell you what you're supposed to be using. 7W40, 60 ounces, so we've got that ready to go. We've got a fill plug cap right here, okay? I think you guys can see it, but the fill plug in this is just a rubber plug. So some of these are different, but on different models, yada yada. But it's a fill plug. It's a rubber plug. So okay, so you got your screwdriver. Grab Old Faithful. Okay, little taps. Gasket all the way around here. This thing has been in there for a while, so who knows how long it's been there for a bit. So it's sealed in there pretty good. So let's see if we can cut this loose from the top. Gasket. see right here, right there actually, get a split in it so you can get a screwdriver wedged, okay, or a flat one, a flat blade of some sort. You just want to wedge it apart a little bit. There. As you can see, this fluid was pretty old, so split that gasket as much as we can. There we go. So it's pretty easy to service these. You just need to know how to split the case. Definitely jack up your vehicle. You only get out about 6 of them if it's on the ground, so you need that clearance for the tank. Okay. So split it. Reach up in here. Get that last one, okay? Like this. Alright. You're going to pull out and down. So you can see it's been a while for this case. It's been quite some time before this has been serviced. So for the front, I actually didn't use any brake cleaner on it. The back, I'm probably going to use brake cleaner. Probably just a little bit. But yeah, it smells burnt. It's pretty bad. So we're going to have to scrape our old gasket off too, okay? Something we're going to have to do, so let's grab some rags. This is kind of the messy part, so you guys right there out of the way. But you're going to want to clean up your sides. Looks like there was a lot of gasket on here, so we're probably just going to use a wire brush and deal with it, but I'm going to get the top cleaned up and out of the way. There's still a lot of gasket on there, so whoever sealed it last time did a great job, but it just hasn't been serviced in a while. So just a reminder, some of these cases use additives, so some of them you do have to buy a bottle of additive. $15 for Mopar on Amazon, you can get it. It's dirt cheap. It's not bad. So what you do is you mix it in your bottle and then you put it in there. So I'm going to use probably a brake pump, stick them in to put the fluid in there, but first we got to clear gasket off and spray it. So as you can see, it's pretty bad in there. You can see it's been a while since this one's been serviced. You can just see it. So time for some brake parts cleaner. Let's get this thing sprayed out. Okay. As you can see, we're gonna got a big whiff of that stuff, yikes. So we're just going to let it drip drain for a second. I think it's important that you spray the front. I actually didn't spray the front, and was there a reason for it? Maybe a little bit. Sometimes I don't really like spraying the front differentials. A lot of people do it anyway. I don't like doing it, but the backs I do it just to clear out any metal debris. Use about a can or two on it, so you don't have to be too light on it, but that's probably good. So we're gonna let it drain. gasket. We need to clean this up here. So as you can see with our magnet caught some crap, so quite a bit of it. So let's set you. As you can see, it's been a while since this one's really been cleaned out, so this one, it needed a service pretty badly. So clean out your cover. This magnet, you can actually bend these tabs up and take the magnet out. So we'll kind of happen here, so give me a flat blade. So yeah, you can see here, those come up a little bit, like so. Do the best cleanup job we can and stick it back in. So there's a lot of metal shavings on this one, and I'm assuming that this hasn't been serviced in years. So it's pretty bad. Clean up around it, okay? What I've noticed from this too is the rear end, it doesn't jog up on me, but it just feels like it's sludged up really bad. So I could tell the fluid was really bad. You can always kind of feel it. If you own a Jeep and you work on Jeep, you can always kind of feel when things are going bad for you. Specifically differential fluid, when it needs to be changed, you can just tell just by driving it when it starts to get low gas mileage. The front, what I did notice is you'll have a slight wheel shake at about 45 to 50 miles an hour. That's when it's really bad, but it starts out with a hesitation with braking. And you can put new brakes on them and it'll still do it, and you know it's your front diff that's doing it. Your back diff, it contributes to it as well, but your front differential, I just noticed with a lot of Jeeps, when they start to have this weird, almost feels like your rotors are warped, or you're like, it's stopping, but it's intermittently just, it's a weird feeling, but you'll feel it in your brake pedal. When you go to stop, you'll feel like it's really hard to hit, like you'll hit the gas, but it won't, like you can stick it in drive, okay? You can stick it in drive and it barely moves, like it'll just barely move, and that's generally your front differential fluid needs to be changed. You can just see it, you can feel it, that's how it is. So a lot of these, when you're working on Jeep, like I can test drive one and I can tell you what needs to be done. It's a very strange thing. You put me behind the wheel and I can tell you what's going on with it. It's from owning them, from driving them. I had a, I think it was a 2001 before I owned this one. My last Jeep was a 2001 Jeep Grand Cherokee. It had the straight six, but it was two-wheel drive. And I could just, that was kind of one of those that the car was always in good shape. I ended up getting rid of it. I actually gave it to a family member a while ago, but the Jeep, it's a nice little ride. I like them. The straight sixes, they're reliable, man. They're really reliable. They're easy to service. They're not really that bad. When you get to the V8s, it's a little different. It's a little more involved, but they're still really easy. Their suspension is cake. Like, it's really easy to do suspension work on them. They're just really easy to work on. And then what's interesting, so the Jeeps came out in World War II, and at the time the Germans were using Volkswagen. It's kind of strange that I have Volkswagen and Jeep right now. So I kind of see a walk through time where how both have evolved. And it's interesting. I'd be interested to own one of the original World War II Volkswagens and World War II Jeeps to see the difference, but I'm sure it's kind of the same. Volkswagen's a different animal. You work on Volkswagen, and it's like, it's just, there's a lot of different things that they do things a lot differently than how Jeep does them and how other vehicles do them. That's with all German vehicles, really. But you'll just notice that if you buy a WJ or a Jeep, they're really easy to work on. Some of the models are a little more, they're not too fun to work on because they're more computerized. They have a little more different, they have different troubles. So like some of the newer Jeeps, you can't really just drive the car and tell what's wrong. That was something that I learned about the newer stuff. The newer stuff, it's kind of, you have a lot of computerized stuff in there. That's not so, it's more of like a newer age car, of course. But we're going to bend this up, okay? I'm going to try to take this measure out. See if we can bend all these up. Bend your fins up, clean underneath. What can I say? The straight 6 is probably the easiest motor to work on. Doing a head gasket on them, it really doesn't take much. They're underhead cams, so their cams are in the block. You don't have to do timing with them. You basically just bolt them together and you got yourself a head gasket. It's probably the easiest head gasket to do on any vehicle. It's the Jeep. It reminds me of the Chevy 350. The only difference is you don't have to really set your valve adjustment. So it's actually easier than a Chevy 350. Well, and Chevy's pretty easy too, but every car is a different animal. It's kind of what you'll realize working on them, but every car is kind of a different animal. They do things differently. Different models are set up different ways. But this is kind of the 2000 through 2004 WJ is one of, even the 05s and up are not that bad. It's once you get into like 2010 and, well, the 2020 is pretty nuts too. You get into that and you're like, there's a lot of electronics here, but they're still really easy to work on. They're really not that bad. So that's one thing I like about Jeep. They're simple. They're very simple to take care of, but if you don't take care of them, they're pretty much worthless. Okay, so let's go back in here. Get up with this. So once again, they're really not too hard to work on. There's certain ones that I don't really like. One is the 3.6. I'm not really a big fan of the 3.6, although I've worked on a lot of them. They have issues with the cam phaser oil galley bolts. They have, Chrysler and Jeep have their own little issues that I've noticed Dodge. Otherwise, if you know it, and you do a valve cover gasket and you tighten them up, it really isn't such a bad deal. So make sure you get everything out of the case, but you want to clean that surface real well. You want a good seal surface. Many people don't really take this time to do it this in depth, so there's their own. I just do things by the book. I'm kind of a stickler when it comes to it, so I know a lot of people who just, you know, scrape them a little bit and fill them back together. Use a wire brush. Even if you have a wire wheel on a drill, it works a little quicker. But in this case, we're just going to do it by hand really quick. So yeah, I've actually thought about, like, what else should I be talking about through this that's non-car related, because I'm sure I'm going to go over like repeat videos, but I don't watch the news much, so I probably won't talk about the news very much. I don't like politics either, so politics is another thing I don't talk about too much, but maybe I'll just stick to the cars themselves. I don't know, I thought about talking about just random stuff, but you know, know, the in-between where I'm scraping stuff, but not really my issues here. But here we are, so make sure when you're hitting your edges on here with the screwdriver, just be gentle. Try not to make any gouges like that. I made some gouges in my case, so I'm gonna RVT them up. Just be gentle with the case. A lot of people will tap them with rubber hammers. Some people pry from the hole. I don't like prying from the hole. That's something, I just don't like doing that. So I'd rather tap the edges of the case. I'm getting a new aftermarket case anyway. There's actually, they sell a case for these that holds more capacity for fluid. I would probably recommend getting that. They're a bit pricey, but it's pretty much worth it, man. I mean, how can you go wrong with more capacity in there for fluid? I might actually look that up and provide a link for it, but they're not that expensive. There's a couple people that make them. They look pretty cool too. I'm just roughing up the other side here. Once again, if you really want to take the time, you can spray these. Do whatever you want to do. I'm not really tripping. This is my work vehicle, so. A lot of people will spray them to avoid rust, yada yada, but I mean, I'm not really a big fan. I'll probably end up getting that extra case to put more fluid capacity in it. I'm wondering too, if you have that case cover that allows more capacity, if you can wait longer between service intervals for fluid change. I've been wondering that. I'm actually going to look that up, but I haven't had one online myself. I've installed them, but I have not actually had one on a personal vehicle. So right now, okay, you can see our gasket surface is really clear here. That's what we want. So we're going to run fresh RVT on it and make sure it's good. So next thing we're going to do, okay, I don't want that going anywhere, so let's run some rags. We're probably going to use this brush again. Pretty much mangled it, but whatever. By the way, if you're getting brushes, go to Harbor Freight. They're like a couple bucks for a pack. Don't go out spending all your freaking money on some high expensive brush that's going to break down and die on you anyway. So we're going to reach in there, soak up as much crap as we can. So that's kind of how I am. So we look in there. What do we see? Oh, mainly if you got pooling brake fluid in there, which I don't. It's pretty much all gear case oil. Okay. Just a wire brush. Make sure any big pieces don't fall into the case. You'll be fishing them out. So we're going to spray it one more time with brake cleaner after we're done. So we're going to stick that. Kind of doing this one-handed here, so bear with me. You want that gasket surface fresh. A lot of people will just do it where there's still shit on there. You know, it is what it is, but I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to the gasket surfaces. You'll see that through my videos, like head gaskets. I'm super stickler about it. About every little bit just being clean. Well, a lot of times I'll take them in and get them dipped and decked and make sure they're straight, you know, have them resurfaced. But stuff like this, man, I'm just weird about it, so I just don't want to have to open that damn case again and have to start, you know, redoing gaskets and this and that. A lot of people would say it's overboard, which I agree. You can just rough them up and take the most of it off, but take it from old Wolfie boy. It's important, so okay. Make sure we have no wires from that brush in here either. That's important. So look up top, we have one spot left up there. Here we're pretty much clear all the way through. You can kind of see us hammering with that screwdriver through here, but we'll RBT through that and it'll be just fine. So we're gonna go up top. It's easier for this side. This is kind of the side that's a little annoying to get. But come up and over. Okay. So we're pretty much good there. So let's grab our brake cleaner. Oh, back under. Hold your breath. Try not to take a nice little whiff of brake cleaner there, so we're going to let it sit, drain out, let it dissipate and kind of move away. Okay, so we got our case clean, we got our cover clean. So while I'm here, what can I tell you guys that you'll need for tools for this video, tools for this job? You're going to need a 13 short on a 3/8 flex head, small screwdriver, a flat blade. I probably should have gone a little bit thinner on that to get underneath that. A trim tool, if you really want to, you can try that. Use Old Faithful, get a hammer. Use a wire brush over there. What else? Some RPT black, and whatever your case calls for. So it's different Jeeps or different models, different whatever you're working on. It might call for a different different fluid. So just be aware of that. Make sure you've got your fluid right. You can look it up. A lot of times it could be stamped on the case itself. So be aware of that. You might be able to find your fluid type as this one does right there. So 75 or 75W110. So we're just going to clean this off one more time. Yeah, you can see that we pushed out some brake fluid in there, some brake parts cleaner. So let's try and shovel out all this shit if we can. And you can see it just pools in there, so it thins out if you use that brake cleaner. Just make sure you use a lot of rags. I know I hate buying rags, so this way here. Dude, if you only knew how much I spend in rags in 1 month, you'd all be like, what the fuck? I mean, 1 month, I spent quite a bit on rags, dude. Quite a bit. It's annoying, but when you do mobile or you work in a shop, you're just used to it. You buy them by the case. You go to Walmart and get a case of it for like, I think like 12 bucks for 5 of them for 5 rolls. It really isn't bad, but Amazon has good prices on rags. If you know where to go, Harbor Freight has good prices on rags. If you just know where to go, don't go to like Fred Meyer and buy rags. I'm not dissing on Fred Meyer, they just charge a lot more for their rags. Not any better than any others. So if you're doing mobile or working in your shop, that's one thing I'd say is make sure you like budget yourself on rags, you'll be running through it, man. I'm telling you. It's important. So, okay. Just gonna clean this surface off as healthy and dry as we can. So we've got all that out of there. Pick this up. Realistically, this rear end doesn't look too bad. It really doesn't look too bad. It just hasn't been serviced for a while. It needed a lot of love really quick just to get it moving again. I mean, it wasn't bad. The front was the worst because you'll notice that once both need to be serviced, the front will start to burn up first. And I don't know, I think it's mainly just because it's heavier up front. You run your CVs up front. So that definitely could be why. But I'll tell you, if you're doing the back case, do the front as well. And stick to your manufacturer specs when it comes to fluid, and this and that. When it comes to additives, the only additive I put in these is what Mopar uses. So the Mopar anti-slip or a limited slip additive, it's pretty necessary. A lot of people don't use it. I'm mixed on it, so I agree with it, but if you're in a pinch and you don't have much money, do a straight gear oil swap, you know, but don't run it as long. So you want to add that additive, and you can always just shoot it in there through it like a turkey baster or something. If you really want to put it in there, you can do it after if you're waiting for it in the mail. It's just people have different preferences on it. I've seen videos online too where people are just, you have to use the additive, and it's, you don't have to, but it will prolong the life of your differential. That's one thing I can say. You will prolong the life of your differential if you do use the fluid. Well, and if you service it regularly, it's really not a damn big deal. So Mopar additive, I'm all for it. When it comes to cost, if you're really broke and you can't afford 15 bucks, you should probably go DoorDash for it really quick. I know that's a weird thing to say, but I've had people that have done that have done these before, that they don't put it in there, in their rear ends end up having issues later. I recommend, if you buy it, mix it in the container and shoot it in there, or use a brake pump or a small pump to shoot it in there, or add it afterwards. You can add it afterwards as a turkey baster or something like that if you really need to, but I'm going to use it today, so. And I'll include the link on it. I already mixed it up. I pre-mixed it, so it's $15 on Amazon, dude. It's really not that much. People kind of grit their teeth because it's expensive to do gear oil and RVT. It's the costs add up, dude. So there we are. We're fresh. We're pretty much good to go. We got no oil. Pure gear oil sitting in there. So anything that's brake parts cleaner, we got out. So we can even run that in there really quick and drain that side. Sorry, I'm a stickler here. Okay. So we're gonna can all this. Done for. Okay. That's what I mean, man. You run through rags. So this, set your back up here. So for this here, bend your magnets back down. Okay. Okay. Okay, so when it comes to sealant, you can use whatever you really want to use as long as it's rated, you know, RVT black. You can get this for $5 at Harbor Freight. It's a cheap sealant. It'll do its job. It works just as good as any of the other ones I've used. People will tell you this, and that. It works just as good. So we're gonna run our sealant. Okay. Around our holes. I haven't had any issues with Harbor Freight stuff. Some other people may tell you different things. I don't know. I've used these for valve cover gaskets, dang near anything really. Anything oil related, I've used it and I haven't had an issue, so. Yeah, this stuff really isn't that bad. The person before this used a gray, so you can use gray as long as it's rated for a good temperature and is rated for oil. Then you really shouldn't have any issues with it. So we're gonna set this pretty heavy in here, okay? Let this stuff tack before you install, and make sure it's dry before you drop fluid in. So there's a waiting period in between. There's a waiting period in between filling and installing that I would recommend. At least, a lot of people say let it sit for a day, an hour, 2 hours, something like that. So we're set up this way, okay? Now when it comes to, we're just going to leave that sitting right there to tack, okay? The other side of the case, some people don't do this, but I do. So if you don't do it this way, I don't care. But run a small bead on the case and smear it. Okay, so you're gonna just, and you don't have to use a lot, just a small bead. So run it on your finger for the top. That's what you're gonna be doing anyway. So spread through. Finger paint your way through. Okay. Finger paint your way through. I do this just for good measure. A lot of people would say it's a little overkill. Cool. I don't really care, dude. I mean, it's up to you how you do your car. But I would recommend running a small little bit on here. Like so, okay? But not a lot, okay? You don't want to cake both sides. You risk getting some of it in your case, this and that, so spread. Okay, we're good to go. Cap your sealant so it doesn't dry out on you, okay? Smart deal. Okay. Alright. Next, we're going to push this out of the way for your install. You don't want me juggling shit. Trust me, it's not fun. So, there we go. I'm going to set you right up here so you can see, okay? Remember how this goes in. There's a dowel for it. So it goes in just like so. Okay. A lot of times I would tell you take the sway bar off, but you do not have to, okay? There's enough room in there to stretch it. So you go up and over. Don't touch anything in there. Up and over. And sandwich it, okay? So all we need to do is sink one bolt in. Bolt right here. Just sink it for now. So you want them You want to line these up correctly. 2 bolts in there and you're pretty much square, okay? So 3. You may need to adjust it up and down. Just get them hand tight for now, okay? Don't go torquing one in right away or you're gonna have to readjust your pan. You're gonna be pissed. So just hand tight so you can still shift it a little bit. Once you get enough of them in, you'll notice there's not much wiggle room that you have to do. So really isn't that bad. These case bolts, you don't have to put them too tight, but let your RBT dry, okay? You're going to want that to dry before you sink them all the way down. At least attack for about an hour. That's generally how I go. 30 minutes. I usually just smoke a cigar or fucking drink a cup of coffee and kick the shit with somebody around me while it's drying. Especially if I'm on a job, I'll just kick the shit with somebody and who cares. So, okay. You get your case ID, goes in one, and your fluid type goes in the other one. Just know that. So I don't want another one floating around here somewhere. I should have used a parts dish, would have made it a little easier for me. But yeah, I was laying on it. The first one that you put in, back it out and re-thread it. Just in case you made a cross thread. The first one, I always do that. So we're going to snug these up a little more, okay? Not all the way, just enough it's sitting in there, and then you can start to hand tight. So you get them about hand tight and you let it dry, okay? Some people just freaking shoot them, dude. I've seen that before, where some people just shoot them together and, well, it'll dry, screw it, and it's like, I just do things a different way. So hand tight all of them down. That top one's going to be a pain in the ass. This side. Up through. The thing that's nice is if you take the sway bar off, or you take it off the mounts, you don't really have to swing in between certain things and do this and that, but it's doable. So you can do this case with the sway bar in. Is it recommended? I mean, it's up to you, really. For me, I'm doing the sway bar today anyway. I'm just waiting on some parts. Personally, it really doesn't matter too much. Okay. Just go around and clean it up a little bit. Myself a rag, okay. Okay, so wipe some of your excess RBT off, okay? And we're sitting in there, hand tight with all of them, okay? One thing I would recommend, especially if it's windy and you're sitting in conditions, put your plug back on, okay? Just for now, we're going to slip it over a little bit. Like so. We'll just leave it in there loose. So we're going to let all of our RVT dry, okay? So we're going to let our seal dry. It's hand tight. So that's pretty much it. I'm taking a quick break here. I don't have any more jobs for today, so turns out I'm not getting my parts until tomorrow. Delayed in transit. Don't know how that works since it was out for delivery, but whatever. One thing I will say, wait that 30 minutes to an hour before you torque them down to ensure you have a good seal. Some people just put it on there and torque it down and it doesn't leak. To theirs their own. I let it dry for a little bit and tack. So you can do it however you want to do it, but I at least wait an hour, 30 minutes before torquing bolts down. So take yourself a break, have an energy drink, drink some water, talk with a friend, do what you got to do. So go do something else. So I think I'm actually going to do a separate video for the rear sway bar and end links all around. So I'm just waiting on parts. So Lone Wolf, peace out.